We're all on a journey through life. We're all moving somewhere and time is taking us there. But where are we going? How does the journey end? What am I looking for in life? And with all the different paths to choose, does it matter which one I pick? Is there a right way to live? Those are the most important questions you're ever going to ask. And everybody asks them. They start to arise from our hearts from the time we're little kids. They're burning in all our hearts. People might drown out the fact that they're asking these questions with life, with jobs, with getting busy, with getting distracted with a million things. But those questions are always there. Even if people go through bad experiences in life and start to despair, I'll never find the answers to those questions. They're always there. It's almost like we're put on this planet to find the answers. I think maybe that was why Jesus' first interaction with mankind in the Gospel of John was to ask a question. He saw two guys following him, turned around, looked at him and said, "What are you looking for?" So what are you looking for? At World Youth Day in Toronto, Canada, Pope John Paul II told about 500,000 young people, "I felt the deep longing that beats within your hearts. You want to be happy." And you know what, he's right, because everyone who ever existed wants to be happy. In fact, our desire for happiness underlies pretty much every other desire that we have. What do you want out of life? I want to be a rock star. Why? Because maybe you think that'll make you happy. I want to be rich and famous. Why? It'll make me happy. I want a great marriage someday. Why? Maybe it'll make me happy. And here's a real shocker. A lot of us think our faith is just one of those components of our lives. One of those things on the side, in our journey through life. Yeah, I got my friends, I got the music I listen to, horseback riding, sports I like to play, faith, just one of those many things that adds to our sense of well-being. No. But check this out. Your faith has everything to do with why you're on this journey of life. It's got everything to do with answering those fundamental questions you have about life, why we're here, and what's going to make us happy. In fact, Jesus' big motive for his whole ministry was to help people discover the happiness they're made for. It's from John 15. "I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete." Now, you don't have to have it all together to start this journey. You might have 1,000 questions about your faith. You might feel messed up inside in like a million different ways. It's all good. Just start the journey. You're a big deal. And whether you know it or not, you're chosen.
It's a central part of our Catholic faith that God, he creates everybody on purpose and unique. And the reason he creates us, the reason he sent us into the world, was he had some way in mind that he wanted us to help make the world a better place. One of the ways he made us unique from each other is when he put you together, when he put me together, to be that person to do that good work that he had in mind when he sent us into the world. He filled us full of all the gifts we were going to need to be good at that thing. You know what your gifts are. They're those things that come easier to you than maybe to somebody else, maybe to your brother or sister or your friend. That's a hint at what God wants you to do. He gave you some gifts that made some things easier for you. He also didn't bother to put into us things that don't help us with what we want to do. We think of them as our weaknesses, but they're not. So like, for example, when I was a teenager, my buddies, they like to play basketball. And I really, really, really wanted to be good at basketball. I spent hours practicing in my backyard, right? I never got to be very good at basketball. I thought it was a weakness, but it really wasn't, because God didn't give me gifts for basketball because he didn't want me to be a basketball player. He wanted me to be a priest, and he gave me gifts for that. If you believe that God has a mission for you in this world, if you believe that there's a destiny for you, we call that a vocation. A vocation is that best plan God had for how you're going to make the world a better place. If you know that, you're so lucky. The world might tell you that to be a success, you have to be rich or good looking or popular or powerful or famous or something like that. No. You know already that a lot of people who have those things, they wind up with, drinking and doing drugs to kill their pain inside, to silence their voices inside them, or you just hear these stories about how their relationships don't last and things like this. And this is why it doesn't work, chasing what the world would want, rather than looking for and finding what God would have us find. This is why it doesn't work. If you do what you were made to do, you spend your life using those things you have gifts for, those things that come easy for you. It's very satisfying. You got all this satisfaction. And because you're not chasing things that you're not supposed to be doing, not good at, you don't have a whole lot of frustration. You have a lot of satisfaction and not a lot of frustration. That's called happiness. But it is possible. News stories are full of them. Of persons who get a lot of money, get a lot of popularity, get a lot of power, but they're not very happy, because that's not what God meant them to do. They experience a lot of frustration and not a lot of satisfaction. Those people are bitter and miserable, and they make the lives around the people also not very happy. If ever you meet a person like that, feel sorry for them, say a prayer for them. Whatever they're doing, it's not what God intended them to do. But if you find your vocation, the thing God planned for you to do, that's the secret to happiness in this life. It may not look anything like being rich and powerful and popular and famous. I don't have any of that stuff. But I have a lot of happiness in my life, a lot of satisfaction. I found my vocation to be a priest.
It's easy to feel small in this world, to feel insignificant in this universe. But I think God is looking down from heaven saying, you are huge next to all of this. Yet there are hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, and over 100 billion galaxies in our universe. That's amazing. You know what's even more amazing? There are tens of trillions of cells in your body, living cells, each in its own way more spectacular than a lifeless star, but more awe-inspiring than your physical body. You have a soul. You have an intellect and will. You can know, you can love, you can make choices. More than anything in creation, you are the mirror image of God. Can a mountain, as big as it is, know someone? Can an ocean love? Can a galaxy change directions? No. But you can. And you'll still be around long after all this has passed away. God had you in mind before the Big Bang. He had you in mind when He created space and time. He had you in mind when He entered space and time to save us. He had you in mind when He hung on the cross. He had you in mind when He rose from the dead. I know physically you feel small in this world. But spiritually, you're kind of a big deal.
Now, if somebody had told me what I had just said to you a little bit back about how God has a destiny for us, a plan, and it's our job in this life to find out what that plan is, and if we find it out, we'll be happy, I'd want to know how do you go about doing that. So let me explain to you. It actually is true that this time in your life, right after confirmation, you are ideally tuned to finding out what God wants you to do, because you pay attention to what your gifts are. You pay attention to what he didn't give you to do. You call them weaknesses, but nobody's got weaknesses. Those are just things you didn't need. And teenagers are really good at comparing themselves to everybody around them. So you're so well attuned at this time in your life after confirmation to be on the lookout for how God might want you to serve the world, to make the world a better place. But I'll make it even easier for you with some practical tips. The word vocation, it means calling. So you might say calling, like telephone calling or cell phone calling, and I'll say sure. So if you have a smart device, if you have a cell phone of some type, you probably already know as a teenager what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing if you want to receive a cell phone call. For example, you can't receive a call on your cell phone if it's off. You can't receive a call from God if you're not praying, if you haven't turned on your phone and talked to him in prayer. You want to find out this time in your life what God wants you to do, you pray, you continue to pray. You know, a cell phone won't work very well if it's in some deep, dark, hidden place, in basements and subways. It works much better when it's out in the open. So too, if you want to find your vocation, your calling from God, your teenage years, your high school years, your college years, you shouldn't be doing things that you gotta hide. The kinds of things you'd hide from parents or from police officers or from coaches or from teachers, sneaking around kind of stuff. This is not the time in your life to be doing that. You know, cell phone calls get dropped if you run under high voltage wires and things. They scramble the signal. So too, alcohol and drug use, they scramble your brain. This is not the time in life that you should be thinking about ever doing drugs or drinking. It's not a good idea right now. It won't help you get to be happy. If you're very far away from any cell phone tower, there's no bars, there's no service. So too, if you're very far away from God, if you never go to church, you're not going to get the good reception of your calling. I mean, think about it. Think about church. Think about Holy Communion. You have God, the one who's calling you to your plan for holiness, your vocation. You have God in your hand. You receive him into you. It doesn't get any closer to that. That's full bars. So that would be my tip for how do you find your vocation? How do you come upon your plan for what's going to make you happy in life? Do those things. Spend these years of your life praying. Spend these years in your life doing great, outstanding things that you can brag about, things you'll put on your resume. Volunteer in your school, volunteer in your church, be in scouting, do good things for old people and little kids. Just out in the open stuff. Stay away from drugs and alcohol. And go to church, go to Mass. You do these things at this time in your life, and I guarantee you'll find your call, what God intended you to do. You know, I want to tell you, lots of teenagers and young adults right now are doing the exact opposite of what they should be doing. They are nowhere near church, they don't pray anymore, they're drinking and partying and sneaking around behind their parents' backs and stuff like that. Is it any wonder why so many people in this world don't seem to be happy? Is there any wonder why so many people have more misery than satisfaction? Not because God didn't have a plan for them, but because at exactly the wrong time in their life, they put themselves in exactly all the wrong places to get that call. But if you follow this advice, I guarantee you, you will find that plan for happiness, your vocation.